instead of the beginning of the episode. Do I sound drunk? Do I sound drunk?
I go get a beer now. Let's take another shot.
didn't know.
No, it's funny. Sometimes Blake gets a little ahead of himself and he starts slurring by the end.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, Blake, we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
No, because you guys start taking shots, and I'm like, damn, dude, like you guys just got there. It's like 3 shots within the last 10 minutes.
You're live on Twitch, but it's just whatever. So.
Hi, Twitch.
Whenever,
hello.
Yeah.
We might have people coming on there because my wife said she wanted to watch it on.
Yeah, you'll see them right here or right here.
All right,
like
all right. I'm gonna see if I can get any more.
And then when you're ready for
stuff.
that, obviously record. You guys good to go?
I'm
gonna go eat my breakfast burrito.
Cool, man. I like breakfast burritos too. Just a thought. I mean, you don't have to do anything with it. What did he say on that movie? He said, "I'm just, bouncing some thoughts. You don't like them back. You can just bounce them back if you don't like it."
What's the coronavirus stats right now?
I believe it's over 2 million worldwide, and
It
somewhere
is
over close to 200,000 worldwide deaths. If I'm not mistaken.
Coronavirus USA.
Oh, you wanna?
Oh wait, I guess it's not just USA.
Do you want the U.S. death toll?
Coronavirus stats. Let's see here.
Right now, Colorado. No, that's
Worldwide. All right, let's write down some shit.
So, you're just writing some stuff down right now. And that went live on Twitch, brought to you by Blake.
Yeah.
From Colorado. If you're not Colorado born, you're not Colorado raised, you will never be like Blake.
Exactly. So this is worldwide. Yeah, Twitch. If you're tuned in already, you get to see how we kind of prep. And it's,
This is how he preps. I've been prepping over the last few days.
Yeah.
So.
I kind of have too, but it's not been coronavirus. Deaths. 164,000.
That's what I have.
164,000.
716.
716. Yep. Recovered 611.
611. Yeah.
All right, countries. U.S.
Confirms 750,000.
751.
Recovered
775.
Recovered 66,903. And deaths 4189.
40,000 people have died in our country because of this shit.
Yep.
Fucked up.
We'll talk about that.
We've doubled Spain. Almost doubled Italy. Yeah. My buddy posted something about the coronavirus and how they put a map over Spain and Italy and said, no wonder we have more cases. It's like, it's nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Because Russia, Russia isn't even on this list, and they're the biggest country out of everyone.
How packed together are they in Russia?
I'm not exactly sure the population of Russia.
And what have they been doing in response?
China only has 4,000 deaths, which even if you doubled that, even if it was wrong and you doubled it, it's still only a quarter of ours.
I struggle to believe anything that comes out of China.
So, yeah, I agree.
Regardless. Because like you're saying, I mean, that is a great question, right? That's left is, how is it that you have one of the if not the largest population in one country, and this virus has proven to move rather rapidly?
Yeah.
How is it that you really don't outnumber us?
Yeah.
How is that even possible? But then we have such poor information coming out of China and coming out of the news, honestly.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I don't know. There's literally no way we can sit here and argue and use China as an example.
No. It's like, it's same thing with Russia. You can't use Russian as an example. They aren't truthful with world media and shit.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to.
It is. And that's one of the biggest things that I would encourage people to do is think for a moment.
Yeah, and try and if you hear one thing on the radio, try and go hear that same thing said on all of the radio. And if it's not, it probably isn't exactly true. It's at least a little biased.
Well, there's a saying, right? It says, "Believe nothing of what you see, and only half." We've got some feedback there.
No, I was just making sure I got this down and know how it works.
I'm like, I can hear myself speaking.
All right.
So do we have to go back over all of that now?
No.
So, where was I though? Yes, I do encourage people. So multiple things. One, we've always been told, believe nothing of what you hear and only half of what you see. But we are extremely quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say you gotta believe most of what you see. Half it's.
The point I'm trying to make though
I got
is we're believing everything that comes out of anyone's mouth at face value immediately, and that's just not smart.
He did something here.
You did something. We were
There
good.
There it is. All right.
Messing with stuff.
Yeah, he needs to come back down here. I need to. I got a fucking question. Yeah. Waiting on Derek. Waiting on the producer.
Did you text him and
God damn
let him
it.
know he needs to come
His
down here?
fucking phone's probably down here.
Then you're gonna have to go up there.
God damn it.
Sounds like we got some people on the chat there. I can't
Need
see who it is.
last minute check. Mr. Cheesehead. He said, I'm half tempted to fly there to join the pod. Dude, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. We'll put you on for sure. We'll talk about whatever you want to, too.
Get down here.
I'm the only cheesehead. Where Derek? Dude, do it. We'll talk about cheeseheadness. All the cheeseheadness that you can handle. Alright, we're almost ready to go live.
Yeah, man. Whenever you're ready.
Almost.
I thought we were going. Wheels were spinning.
Yeah, we're almost there. I need just one. The page didn't look like this when I started. There's things on it that weren't before. And I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to mess it up. You know?
I feel you. I don't want you to mess it up either. So figure it out.
Yeah.
I need you to figure it out.
Yeah.
Hey, sounds really good.
It does.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot better than it used to.
Yeah. No.
Doing it on a telephone over there. Like, hey guys, turn us all the way up. You probably won't be able to hear us.
Sitting here screaming.
Yeah, right.
In latest news, the Broncos.
Mic check.
So,
He messed it up. We
What
were
happened?
doing good.
I don't know. I think I have it all ready to go, do I? I changed, I tested it and then, there it is. That's way back to normal now. Alright. Yeah, we're good.
All you did was restart it.
I did.
I was going to say, was he in the wrong window?
No, he's good.
Alright, we're going live
it.
right about now. What it do, people? We live. No, we not. We live on Twitch. If you ever want to see us live, we're on Twitch. But what's up, Anchor? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Apple, Spotify, all that shit. Today, the Slightly Off Topic podcast is just going to be Blake. Just kidding.
It's like, yeah, no, I'm not here. That's fine.
No.
Ignore the complete other person that is in the room.
Yeah. We got my buddy Marvin in as a guest. We got Derek behind the scenes producing. Kinda. He's in and out. he's doing Sunday duties. So what's up,
Man's
y'all?
gotta do what a man's gotta do, you know.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Oh, Marvin, what's up, dude?
Not much, man. Just, you know, living the dream, as you said, as we were walking in.
Yeah, dude. Living the fucking dream. Out here, working still. I would
No,
assume?
I am not working at all. Well,
Oh, damn.
I am part-time, essentially. There's been a couple of weeks where I haven't worked at all. There's been a couple where it's been 10 hours, 12 hours, 20 hours.
In one day?
In a week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, weekly. So
That kind of sucks.
yeah. I mean, so thanks to the CARES Act,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of money available so that, you know, there's been that gap that's been filled, thankfully, in a sense.
That's good.
In a sense.
That's good.
Um,
Hopefully you're not drowning.
no,
Like some people
no.
are.
I mean, you recall the text message I sent you when you were talking about, well, you know, I'm prepared for sort of situations like this, and that's kind of what one of the arguments that we had before is being prepared.
Yeah.
You know, preparedness, and thankfully I was
Better
prepared.
than our stockpile.
Right. So I was prepared for, you know, to hold out for a little bit. Definitely helps to, you know, like I said, have that money come in, which supplements whatever savings you're spending.
Yeah.
But outside of that, man, just trying to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Trying to stay out of the way.
Yep.
Working whenever they call me to work.
Yep. How's school?
It's going all right.
You're still doing classes and
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah.
Turned everything to online? Or you were
Well,
online?
I was online the whole time, so.
No, nothing changed really.
No, not for me.
Sweet. That's good.
The one thing that did change, obviously, you know, with the kids.
Yeah.
I do have an 8-year-old, so he's been staying home, and so his mom and I have kind of split the duties, and I've kept him a couple extra days throughout the week and helped him with his homework and all that stuff. So
yeah.
doing that.
What do you do for a living?
So I'm an HVAC service tech.
HVAC tech.
Yeah, I work for a commercial HVAC company.
So do you install HVAC?
I know how to. My main responsibilities are more diagnostics, repairs,
Okay.
controls, the technological
Like
side
the
of
service
Yeah.
aspect, not so much installation.
right.
Yeah.
However, I am still involved in the installation of refrigeration lines. That's part of my scope of work. And
Is that Freon?
yeah,
Is that why you have to do it? Because
yeah,
it's special shit.
right. So it's EPA regulated, given that the chemicals in the refrigerant, which Freon is a company that makes refrigerant. The refrigerant is the actual chemical that's used.
Is that a huge big word?
It's not. It's just people call it Freon. They've called it Freon forever.
Yeah.
But Freon's actually just the company that makes refrigerant. Refrigerant's the actual chemical that we use in air conditioning, refrigeration systems. So, but yeah, so I initially started with a residential company, so I did some installs for them.
Sick.
You know, residential HVAC. So we're talking about water heaters, water tanks, boilers, furnaces, air conditioners. You know, all that good jazz.
all that plumbing stuff.
We're not
Plumbers?
plumbers.
Not really plumbing.
We're not plumbers, but we do touch on plumbing, and we're also not electricians, but we do touch on electrical.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of information that you have to know from the two different fields.
Yeah, we had
to
our
kinda
furnace put in this summer, and
Right.
they were in everything.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that's kind of everybody that's in that business has to at least be not foreign to it.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, like I said, in residential, you do a little bit more. It's a little bit more expected out of the individual than there is in the commercial industry. The commercial industry, you have, obviously, plumbers, you have electricians. So when a large building's going up, you have trades that come in together and work as a team to put everything together. When it's a residential unit, it's like, do you really need to bring in additional personnel and additional trades?
Yeah.
which is going to add to your cost over teaching the one trade,
Yeah,
the
that
code
makes exact
that
sense.
they need to know for the small bit of electrical or plumbing that they're going to be doing.
That makes perfect
So,
sense.
But yeah, so that's essentially what my job is. But like I said, I am involved in install. Sometimes there isn't service because we do work on commercial buildings, and so there's nothing else to do. You know, you gotta learn how to install.
Yeah, that kind of sucks, but
It doesn't really.
it probably doesn't happen very often though. You probably don't run out of stuff to do and then have to go.
Yeah, not
install.
really. But I don't mind it. I like having to do different things throughout the day, and for things to not become mundane and the same things over and over. And,
Oh hell yeah!
you know, so
That's like my job is just the same fucking thing every day. Same
you're like,
thing.
yep, I'm the opposite.
Yep.
Just
over and
give
over
me the same
again.
thing.
Yeah.
Don't change it. Same route.
Nope.
Be
not,
back.
Not same
Be
route.
back at the same time.
I can't do that. No.
Right. So it's the same thing. It's like I'm all over Colorado. I mean,
Yeah, me
I
too.
have pictures of sunsets and sunrises that, you know, you would be shocked to see just the full front range, a lot of beautiful drives, a lot of nice places, and I like what I do. It's technologically driven, so it keeps your brain working, you know. So I'm doing that, like I said, diagnostics and learning about new systems coming out. Technology is ever changing, so it's a rapidly changing industry, so it keeps me on my toes.
Yeah, you'll definitely make more money if you like what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Trade. In trade, there's so much money in trade, man.
Definitely.
And there's such a shortage of people who want to do trade.
Because they were all misinformed about college. Every parent wants their kid to go to college.
But is that misinformation, or is that just doing what we know to work?
But it doesn't work, so it's semi-misinformation.
But it worked for our grandparents, right? Who taught our parents.
Yeah.
Who taught us.
Yeah, it was a different time then, though.
It was.
I mean,
it was.
Most kids back in the day were hands-on before they even got to college. I mean, you had to know.
Yes.
They just knew more than our teenagers do headed to college.
And that comes back to technology and the problem of...
Most certainly.
Parenting.
Yeah.
Which, as much as it's going to hurt some people's feelings, parenting.
Yeah.
If you do a good parenting job and you teach your children that they need to explore the world and they need to go outside and try new things and get hurt and you know, go through that.
Learn about fire, get burnt,
climb a tree,
get a frostbite.
How many trees did you not climb when you were a kid?
Oh man.
You know, it's like things like that teach kids certain lessons that they're not getting now. They're in front of a TV. Parents aren't teaching them.
Well, think about it.
Morality.
You're a parent. Think about how easy it is to just hand them a babysitter. Here's your babysitter.
It is very easy.
Here's your babysitter.
It is very
turn
easy.
on YouTube. Turn on Netflix. Turn on something.
It is.
I mean, it's easy. I mean,
it is.
Most of
and that's the problem. That it is easy. Our parents had it easy too, because all they had to do was open the door. Right?
Yeah.
They had it easy too. All they had to do was open the door. That light comes on, you're back in here. That's it.
Yep.
We're gone for hours.
Yep. That's semi how our childhood was.
I mean, I was never home in the afternoons. You know, I was around the street. I was riding bike. I was playing with my friends. I was, you know, getting hurt. I broke my arm when I was a kid.
Yep.
My friends, you know, I originally from Dominican Republic, for those who don't know, and I grew up where my friends were getting hurt all the time. I mean, rocks would come flying because there was a fight on the other block and catch one of your friends, and all of a sudden they got to go to the hospital to get stitches.
Yep.
So it's like, I understand wanting your children to be safe, you know, but your kids just like you have to explore the world and you get hurt and you learn from those lessons. That's how kids learn. They have to learn from those lessons.
Yep.
You know, you're there to help them help guide them, but you can't protect people from everything. Eventually, they're going to lead to a point where it's going to be a problem. So.
And that's just it. Usually, if you try and protect them from everything, there comes a point where they hit reality and they are so unprepared.
Right. And so it brings us full circle
Yep.
to, is it that, is it misinformation, or is it that people aren't changing with the times? You know, is it that people aren't paying attention to the times? That, you know, it's like they say, it's difficult to teach an old dog new tricks.
Definitely.
Right? So when you try to when I try to have an argument with my parent, either one of them, to where it's like, I'm trying to show you, you know, evidence that what you're telling me is not true, and they don't want to listen. There is no way that you're going to sit a parent down and be like, hey, listen, let me show you evidence that college doesn't work. They're not going to listen.
Yep.
You know, they're going to
So
look
you
at
gotta,
you.
but through time, people like us that I didn't go to trade school, but I have a trade.
Right.
I drive a truck.
You don't have, and that's the thing, is you don't have to go to a trade school to do a trade.
Definitely not.
You don't. You enter as
Definitely not.
as an apprentice in any trade. You can go through an electrician's company.
Yep.
You can go through the union. You can go through HVAC. You can go through anywhere.
Yep.
And companies will, if they do feel like you need certain level of education, or there are
if they can trust you,
certificates.
if they can trust you to invest money into you.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of companies will invest that money into
Absolutely.
you, and they will give you the education that you need to be able to complete the job to the best of your ability.
Yep.
So, and they're paying for it. So no debt there.
Nope.
And you can start at 18, and by 22 you can be a master electrician, HVAC, whatever. You know, I'm not gonna say that you can by that age because I don't know the exact numbers.
Yep.
The point is that you can be making a lot of money by the time you're in your mid-20s.
Yeah.
With no college tuition, no college debt.
Yeah.
Well,
in my opinion, I think the only thing that you should need college/university for is things like hospital, like nurses and doctors, and that goes into dentists and physical therapists and
yeah, no, I
all
wouldn't.
that stuff.
I wouldn't pick somebody up off the street and throw them in my dentist's office. Like,
Definitely
fix my
not.
teeth.
Definitely.
It's like, hey, I got a heart condition. Come here, fix this.
Yeah. No, and like lawyers, that's not something you can just learn on the street. That's just
right.
Being
that is something that
a police officer, even that's just not something
right.
that anyone should be able to do.
Right. And law is extremely challenging to understand
And extremely
complex.
Yeah, it's
difficult
all
language.
over the place. Like a firefighter doesn't really need much training, but once to get into being a firefighter, but once you're there to move up the totem pole, you need godly amount of training. Like years and years worth of training. A police officer, you don't really need that much training. You go through a police academy, if you get a high enough score, I mean, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to know a lot. Yeah. But there are going to be things that someone that is just made and ready for that is just going to breeze right through school, but is not going to know some of the things that they need to know.
I think that you're making a great point, which is we do need to find some sort of reform to the way we teach, essentially. It's what we keep coming back to. And I'm a huge proponent of education. I think that education is the biggest problem. That's really where the problems begin for everyone.
And a lot of topics that we're about to talk about.
Right,
it all starts with education.
And we're not discussing the education in the sense of like, hey, go to school, learn what 2 + 2 is. Hey,
about
go to
being
college,
stupid. No.
Learn what what economics is. What we're talking about is having the facts.
And it's not hard to get facts from history of things that have already happened.
Right.
I mean, you can take anything from example and be like, well, I mean, it does play a role today because of these certain reasons. Yes, it happened 40 years ago, but really, it's the same exact scenario.
It's science. It's the same thing.
Proven.
It's looking at the same thing happening over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And then we say, hey, here's a fact, right? So when we look at history and we see something happen over and over and over and over and over and over again, how are you to sit back and deny that at that point it's a fact?
Absolutely.
There's nothing you can do. You cannot change it. how are you going to choose to believe one thing over another? If you're going to practice one principle, practice that principle throughout your entire,
Yep.
you know,
Don't be
structure.
hypocritical. Yep.
Right. And so, you know, back to the education point is, you know, every single problem seems to stem at education. Whether it is, like we were talking about, people not being prepared for a scenario like this, goes back to education. Education on the individual financial level, education on the school system, education, you know, we're talking about the police and how they're handling their duties, and how politicians handle their duties, how everyone's handling without education. We sat on the premise that we follow the United States Constitution, right? And it seems like politicians are not informed on what the Constitution says because they're doing things that are contrary to it.
Even our president.
Constantly. We'll get there.
Just did it the other day.
Let's leave names out. let's focus on what's happening, right? Let's leave people out. Let's leave blame out. Let's leave all of it out. It doesn't matter on what side of the spectrum you are. You're making decisions and you're acting out in a way that is going against our platform from which we begin the society in which we live in, called the United States, right? So that's our base. That's where we start. You can't change that base. If you affect that base, we are no longer in the same contract. You're violating that contract. And what happens when you violate a contract in business, in life?
You get
anything?
terminated.
It's null and void. Yeah. I no longer owe you what my contract says. And what happens when we no longer have a societal contract, you and I?
Yeah. Like right? Some say, a civil war will happen.
Right. So, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I think that
I don't think that could happen.
We have shown
these days,
especially, you know, one of the greatest things that we can take about the coronavirus and the situation that's going on in the United States right now is the unity that the people of the United States have. Okay? We did not need orders to tell us to stay 6 feet away from each other. We did not need orders to tell us to stay at home.
No.
If
just health officials to say that that's a good idea to do that. That's really all you need.
But we need the facts, right? So if you show me factual information, which is where we struggle as people. That's why people are in the streets ignoring things, is because I struggle to believe you. You've lied to me for years. What do you do with friends who lied to you?
Yeah.
You no longer trust their words.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to tell people, hey, you know, stay at home and say, they're not going to listen to you because you don't have the respect anymore that you had from the beginning. Yeah. So going back to the Constitution.
On that same point, it gives people even more of a reason to not stay at home when people in that hierarchy power are telling people that this is nothing to be afraid of. Don't worry about it. Don't listen. Rebel. Go to work. Do your thing.
So I'd like to be careful with the hierarchy power explanations, because we have to agree that for a society to work, for a company to work, for a business to work, for you to be able to have a job, for your family to work, there's got to be a hierarchical structure to it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's
right.
a problem.
No, and so I'm saying let's just make sure we clarify
their influence.
Yeah, I just like clarifying those things because you can see that in the news.
Because we're not naming names anymore.
Right, we're not naming names.
Which is exactly where I would have gone if I didn't say hierarchy.
Right.
So I switched it there just for you.
But also we want to make sure that, because one of my biggest problems is misinformation. I hate for someone to make one comment and not balance it with the opposite. When you present an argument in any paper, in any argument, anywhere, in any debate, anywhere, you are asked to present your argument, to present a counter argument, and to present yet again another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different points of view that prove why your argument is stronger than the opposite. And we don't see that anywhere. People just come out, they give their opinion, and they move on. It's like, okay, so then...
Unless you're a professional Facebook troll.
I don't know the whole trolling thing. You know, I don't do the social media thing. I got a Facebook page.
And I guess you couldn't be called a troll if you know what you're talking about and have facts.
That's
maybe
that I wouldn't call it a troll. I would call someone
Yeah,
calling you out on your bullshit.
I would more or less not call that a troll.
Right?
But you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You know what I'm talking
So, God, I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second.
Sorry.
So I just I like clarifying things to make sure that people understand. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm not telling you that what I'm saying is correct. I'm not telling you any of that. What I'm telling you is what I see and how I see it.
And people are not.
And I urge people to, once you hear someone make one comment, don't perpetuate that comment without
do your own research.
Researching it, which was what we spoke about earlier. It's research it. You know, if you for an argument, when you're going to present an argument, you're going to need multiple references. The same should apply here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Perfect example. My stepdad and my mom came over to bring the kids Easter baskets last weekend, and something got brought up about the pandemic team getting fired months before the thing. And it was my dad that said it in front of my stepdad, and my stepdad is a huge right-wing conservative, and he immediately went into defensive mode about how that's not true and how they didn't give them the budget increase they wanted, and the media totally construed it differently. So immediately I got on Google, got on Fact Check, got on a couple different ones to look up what's going on here.
Yeah.
Sure as shit, both of them were wrong.
So you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
sure as shit, they're both wrong. What the media told, what my dad construed from what the media told him was wrong, and then what my stepdad construed from, I would assume, Fox News was also wrong.
Right. And so that's the problem, right? And it goes back to education. The media is not educating the people, which is their main. It should be their job, right? Is to go find the facts for us. That's in the free market. Things work that way. Is we pay for services.
Yep.
The reason why the media and newspapers and all these news outlets make money is because
privately owned.
Pay them through trade and agreements. It might not be, because one of the arguments, when people encounter officers, is I pay your salary. It's like, no, you don't. Yes, I do. Actually,
I mean, you do.
I don't
yes.
take money out of my pocket and write you a check. But me as a citizen, that is where my tax dollars go, right? I'm not a citizen. I'm a permanent resident of the United States. I cannot claim to be a citizen because that can hurt me later when I apply to be a citizen of the United States. So I am not claiming to be a citizen of the United States. I have to clarify that before we move on. Wouldn't want to go into an interview and they're like, hey, so have you ever claimed to be a citizen of the United States of America? No. Well, we have this podcast from 2020. So that's not what I'm claiming. I am the resident. But the point I'm trying to make is that we pay for those services. That's how those services come about. That's how they make money. They get paid from delivering the services that the population is asking for. That's how the free market works.
Yep.
Right? And so what we're asking the news outlet is you don't have to go sit in a desk all day, every day. You can travel. You can get around the world. You can take the time because I have kids to raise and I have a job to do and I have a 9 to 5 and I can't go to Russia to go ask Putin what's really going on and why you have tanks at the border, for example, and for him to tell me whether he does or doesn't and to show me. I don't have that time. So we entrust these public officials and the media with all of this power. But at the end of the day, the power should be ours. We have the power.
Yeah.
We pay your salary. We pay you to go do a job. Do it right. Do it properly. Don't push agendas through the television.
Biased media. Yeah.
Right. And so people, like you said, they're not doing the research. They're not educating themselves. And that's why people are in the streets arguing. Because they don't trust the words that are coming out of their government. They don't trust the words that are coming out of the media. They don't trust it.
Yeah.
You know?
How can you though?
Exactly.
I mean, when you have a top news outlets like CNN and Fox News where they'll say something, they'll have their anchors say something, and you can immediately look it up and debunk it. It's like, that shouldn't be that easy.
It should
That should not be that easy for me to prove you're lying. That I've literally proved it. You're lying while you're still talking about it.
Yeah, it's a damn if you, and there's this damn if you do, damn if you don't sort of scenario happening with the media. Is they go up against a person and they destroy them on the TV over doing one thing, and then that person's like, oh, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to do the opposite next week, and then they come back and destroy them the next week for doing the opposite. It's like, so which one is it?
Well, do news outlets get fined if they get caught in a lie?
That I didn't know.
See, and that should be a for sure thing. If you say something on your television show that definitely, if it puts people's lives at risk.
I think that there's been a large movement in
Don't you believe though, if you started fining media outlets, they'd stop doing these little bits about things they aren't 100% sure on? It would kind of bring a halt to that.
I think that people... Okay, so let me ask you this. If you go to work and you are incompetent at your job, what happens?
Most of the time you either get fired or they demote you down to the pooper.
So that's what needs to happen.
Demote them?
It is a job. You have
Fired.
a job.
Fired.
Right.
I agree.
You have a job.
That's
totally
your job. Agree. And
if you cannot do your job
I
consider
myself a moderate liberal. And I would even say that CNN should be shut off.
You're not going to do the job that you're getting paid to do. We do not. I don't want you. I don't.
No.
Now, one of the things that, again, because we do have all this misinformation, like you said, is if you hear something, do your research, okay? And I would argue to people that they should believe both sides, because just because someone's saying something that doesn't agree with what you believe in or goes against everything you've ever known doesn't make them wrong. Okay? Maybe they know something you don't know.
I was gonna say that should immediately and it does someone like me in my mindset. It would immediately intrigue me to ask more questions.
Right.
Be like, why do you think that? How do you know that? And
right.
Wait, I got told this and this and this and this and this about you my whole life. Right. See, and that's where racism comes in. And it's a huge thing of... there are many people in my family that are very racist. Very.
Yeah.
And
I have some family members that...
Growing up around that is just... Definitely growing up in Aurora. I mean, there were less white people at my high school than any minority. I mean...
I didn't go to school in Aurora. I went to Denver South for my...
But you know exactly what I mean.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, that was... Just like New York is the cook pot, like the crock
pot.
pots.
Then you come home to your racist fucking uncle who wants to talk about, I can't believe my fucking nephew's going to school with the blah blah blah, and it's like, dude, come on. Like a lot of those blah blah blahs are my buddies.
But that's education. You know,
Absolutely.
That's education. We're failing. We're failing. We're failing our kids. We're failing our teens. We're failing ourselves. We're failing.
I'm not failing my kids.
I mean,
my kids are going to be the 1% fucking owning Walmarts and shit.
So again, I'm not saying that every single person is making the exact same mistakes. You know, we all make mistakes. We're
Absolutely.
all the same. You know, that's all men are created equal. You know, men and
Nobody's
women.
Perfect.
Nobody's
fucking perfect.
Everyone's got the same rights, the same. So I'm not saying that everyone is fucking up their kids and not doing the right thing. I'm saying that...
No, but if you follow along the lines of if you hand your kid a tablet or a phone to babysit so you can go drink a beer or talk to your buddy or go flirt with your boyfriend or girlfriend, I mean, yes, we're talking to those people.
Well, no, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that either. There is when you're... allowing a television or right. And see how the...
I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying we're talking to you, and we're giving you outlooks of people that are looking in on you in different ways than you probably look at yourself.
I'm talking to everyone.
I am talking to everyone too.
Everyone is,
definitely when it comes down to facts.
Open
and
your
knowing
eyes.
your shit.
Yeah, open your eyes. Just do your research. But if you are going to believe one side, believe the other, because we're talking about.
No offense, YouTube, but do not get your information from YouTube. Nothing on YouTube is regulated. Nothing on YouTube is checked. Nothing on YouTube can factually be checked.
Yeah.
Because it's there. I think I heard YouTube has like 10 million videos uploaded a day, every day. How do you can't regulate that? You just have to put in algorithms where it like notices certain things and certain things or certain visuals that it sees that are like that's not allowed. I think I heard it got so bad that they changed normal YouTube to where they now suggest no kids are on it because they drop down walls to where now if you're a kid watching kid videos on regular YouTube, shit can pop up on your next video that you should not be watching as a little kid.
I think that there was
it's
something
happened
with the
Momo
before. The Momo?
Yeah, the Momo challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened with that where it popped
the little
up on
kid pops
YouTube
up.
Kids or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like
it
starts
people
out.
Don't monitor what their kids are watching. Like, how are you not?
But it's crazy. Have you ever seen one of those Momo videos?
No.
It starts out with like a clip of like SpongeBob or Peppa Pig and then about 30 seconds in, the clip stops and that Momo bitch comes up and starts telling you to hurt yourself or go like turn the fucking gas on in the stove while everyone's sleeping and like. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Whoever made that should be shot and killed, or hung, beat by the beat by the peasants.
Jesus, you're going.
Hang him up, beat him by,
hang him by the balls.
Guillotine his nutsack off.
Oh Jesus. Oh man,
feed him to the cows.
Feed him to the pigs. Hey, so what's the Tiger King thing going around?
Oh, dude, yeah.
Feed him to the tigers.
I'll feed him to my tigers.
Add some sardine oil or something.
Dip him in some sardine oil. That Tiger King show is too much. It's not okay.
My sister played the first half of an episode, and I was just like, I cannot.
Oh,
I can't
dude.
do this. Anywho.
I think I watched 4 episodes, and then it got to it got all about Carol killing her husband, and it was like, this is stupid, so I stopped watching.
Yeah.
It's like, she obviously did it. I mean, look at her. She just looks guilty. And she has fucking she has tigers.
My thing is, here's where I stopped.
You have tigers.
She said he keeps his tigers in cages while she's standing in front of a cage and a tiger behind it. I was like, that's so, and that's the things those are the things that people are listening to. Those are the people that people are listening to. When you're listening to someone come on the news and telling you, oh, this person did this and they're horrible for it. This is immoral, and why are you telling me how to feel about it?
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to tell me how to feel about it.
I mean, they should be saying, I feel this is immoral. I feel that this is wrong.
Maybe.
But, I mean, if it's like my favorite news anchor on all of television is Lester Holt. Everything that comes out of his mouth is like, you're so right.
So, from thus far us talking, would you say that I watch the news?
I would say you don't watch TV.
Okay, yeah. I don't watch TV at all.
No,
but you do know me, right? So it's like I don't watch the news. I don't know who these anchors are. I don't know who these people are. I don't care to know.
That shows you how much research I do.
Right.
I watch CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. I watch the David Pakman show, and then I try and go to all the smaller news outlets that aren't on TV, and they have to be on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and shit.
And so what I'm saying is that I'm still able to hold this conversation without watching them tell me what's going on, right? How is that possible? Well, because I do research. I didn't really hear about coronavirus to the point where it became something that was of any concern to me. I would say probably until March.
seeing
You know?
my main news station I listen to, shout out NPR, is 90.1. It's National Public Radio, and then it's also CPR, so Colorado Public Radio. And they have conservatives and liberals and moderates come on and talk, and
that's why I suggest.
That's why I like it
listen
too.
To what everyone's got to say.
Because
they're all right.
And it's like it's one of those networks that's kind of they put in just segments of shit.
Yeah.
So like you'll get a segment of like they'll be talking about health. You'll get a segment they're talking about politics. They'll get a segment and they're talking about this virus in China. And I first heard about it on that radio station back in like, when did the impeachment trial end?
That was such a
December or January, I can't remember.
Yeah. Well,
like
no,
right
because they didn't want to do it through Christmas.
Oh no, it was after after it left the House. It was when it was showing up to the Senate. It's roughly around the first time I heard about the coronavirus.
Okay.
So that was fucking
right at the beginning
4
of the
months
year,
ago.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but my point is that it wasn't any concern to me, and then once it came up to the point where because my dad's got asthma and he's at a point where it's really bad, and so that is a concern for me and my family. Is if he does get this virus, he is potentially in that high risk category given the information that we've been given. Which, by the way, we'll get to that here in a second.
See, and they didn't even tell. When I first heard about it, they were just talking about there's this new virus. There's
going
this
on in
new
China.
It's a new coronavirus.
Right.
And they were talking about how technically the common cold is a coronavirus and all this and that. But they didn't tell us that it attacked your lungs and it attacked people with underlying health problems specifically really bad until February or so. After a bunch of people in China had already fucking died.
Right. And so the information, it's starting to get kind of left behind for us.
The coronavirus always goes back to it was new. They didn't know anything about it. They didn't want to jump the gun. They didn't want to tell anyone misinformation, so they just didn't tell them anything.
Right.
And I'm not going to say that's wrong and that's not what they should have done, but there was definitely a lack of preparation because of it.
It is wrong. It is very wrong.
You would have thought
I'm going to tell you why it's
you would
wrong.
have thought that the first couple people with the virus would have had extensive experimenting done to them to try and prevent this.
No.
We still don't fucking know.
That's the problem. It's that we don't know. Why? Because we have China, who, honestly, I mean, I've read article upon article upon article upon article, and I still cannot tell you what the hell is going on in China. Okay, I don't know what information we got or didn't get. I don't know when we got it or when we didn't get it. I don't know when patient zero was or where it wasn't. When, where, why, how, who. We really can speculate all we want, which there is plenty of evidence to support all of these theories that are going around.
That radio station that I listen to has most of that pinned down. Or at least they say they do.
Again,
they have it pinned down to that bat.
I will always struggle.
They have the bat is where the virus originally came from.
Well, coronavirus is a bat virus. It's what we understand. It's corona is a virus that comes from bats.
But
so
they have the bat.
That, apparently.
They have the bat. They
the
said.
Bat.
Supposedly they have the bat.
Who?
China.
China has the bat. China, the same China that said this was not transmitted from person to person, that this was no worry. The same China the same China that destroyed thousands of coronavirus samples. The same China that kicked out all of our news reporters out of their country, that put gag orders on their hospitals and on their doctors. The same China.
Yeah.
So that same China has the bat. The same China that said that the virus was transferred from U.S. That then they changed it to, I believe, it was France. Then they changed it to say that it, came from this wet market, and that same China.
Yeah.
Because if it's ground zero, you cannot fuck up where it starts. You cannot tell me 3, 4, 5 different places of where this started and stand behind it. So just there, I'm done. I'm not listening to anything China has to say. We're done there. Okay. So now what are we left with? we're left with a pandemic or a virus that is spreading across the entire globe.
Yep.
Right? And we don't have all the information because the media is so concerned with destroying people's characters that they're asking about, well, why didn't you respond quickly enough? Rather than saying, hey, what are we doing? Hey, how can we help you, the people? Because the people, we spoke a little bit about the Constitution of the United States. If, in history, learn from history. We, the people, came together at a point and we put this document together to make sure that we were taken care of and that no power would ever supersede us and trample us.
So do you think that people are putting too much trust in the government or ignoring the government too much?
So let's walk that path, right? From beginning all the way to where we are now, right? So the Constitution's written by the people. That means that the laws that govern us started from the bottom up. If you look at laws that destroy the Constitution or that challenge the Constitution, they start from the top down, right? So we came together as people. Like I said, we created this contract and we said, this is how we're going to have a basis. This is our base. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the federal government control the base, right? So that all the states have a base. And we're not unfair in any way, shape, or form. And, we have a balance of government.
Yeah.
We, the people, entrust other parts of our society, parts of our community, to uphold that Constitution and to preserve that on our behalf. That's what our police force is, that's what our military is, and that's what our government is.
Yeah.
So the power is ours. So how is it that over the last few weeks, I was told that I have to stay home? How does that happen? Hold on. And you can say, well, you have a choice. Yeah, I do have a choice. But then you closed everything else down. So I can't even do anything. So you're forcing me. Why are you forcing me? Did we vote on this? Did you vote on it?
I see where you're coming from.
Right?
I see where you're coming from.
The laws start from the bottom. These are the arguments that people are making. They're not saying anarchy is coming. They're not saying the end of the world is coming. They're not saying that politicians and people in power are doing this purposefully. At least I'm not. What I'm saying is that these are things that we need to pay attention to, because even though people in the past, like you said, we go back to history, we go back to, I encourage people to listen to Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. I don't know if you know who he is.
I do know exactly who that is.
He has studied I can't even say the damn word, totalitarianism?
I don't know. I know who you're talking about though.
Yeah, so
he's been on Joe Rogan multiple
times.
Right.
So he has studied, this topic a lot better, and he can explain better how people didn't intend bad in socialist countries. People aren't calling certain politicians socialists because they mean to say that those people mean bad. What they're saying is that the ideas that they're representing are directly correlated to ideas that were represented in these situations that brought about socialism, which proved not to work time and time and time again. So these are, the lines that people are walking. And so people are saying, oh, well, we do have extremes, obviously, at both ends. We have extreme people that are going to come out and say, no, they're trying to take all your power away and so on. They might not be doing that. I'm not saying that they're doing that because I honestly don't know. Nobody really knows, and that's another strong point that I want to make is nobody knows.
I mean, you got to be a special kind of narcissist to kind of only care about how much power you have, though. You know what I mean?
Right. And we go back to
most people, if they're happy, no matter what they're doing, doesn't matter, right?
Right. But we agreed that people are all equal.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you see
but all people think differently.
Abuse power within your life, right? Which you see all the time. You see people abuse
Every
power.
day.
You see people that mean well, do wrong. You see these things happen all the time in regular life. You see people make mistakes. You see people be misinformed or not educated or express something that they thought was right and was wrong.
They were told and believed.
Right.
with a passion.
So what leads you to believe that that does not happen in government?
So I want to ask you this. You think that they should have not shut nothing down and kept everything going?
That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that we need to pay attention to the things that are happening.
Would you have voted yes on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course I would have. And that was the point that I made earlier. As people of the United States.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, as people of the United States, we will come together under any attack, foreign or domestic.
Absolutely.
Okay? Period.
Absolutely.
And
Agree
that's
with
what
that.
people are doing throughout the country, protesting. They're coming together against the domestic threat that they fear is a threat.
So you kind of killed my theory of China got rid of the virus even though it was the epicenter so fast because they have a communist government and have more power over their citizens, and America is struggling with that because they have little to no power over their citizens.
See, and I didn't even have to tell you that. You're just looking at the facts and the information that's coming in, and you're questioning the right angles, right? You're just asking the right questions, the things that aren't making sense. Now, here's my question to you is, why aren't our news media outlets, our representatives of these questions, asking these questions, right? Because you do make a great point. What did China do immediately? You're all locked down, period. I wish I could find you in the road. I hope so. I hope to find you out.
That's literally what they
Yeah,
said.
I hope to find you out. Please, by all means.
Yep.
Please, let me
And
find
it
you
was
in the
for
street.
like 2 weeks straight, and then
No. They just
no, was it
started
like
to
4 weeks?
Okay,
No, because they
Per-
let everyone
hold on.
come start walking around outside of Wuhan.
per the information that has come out in these news media outlets or wherever you research, right? China has started to let people walk out within their neighborhoods. But when did their lockdown go into effect? That was in like January, maybe February.
See, and I heard like it's been weeks now since I've heard that people were able to walk around, but like in major cities, they had like if you owned the apartment building that people lived in, your bitch ass had to be out there with a thermometer checking every tenant before they came in the building.
Right.
And the same with restaurants. They said if you want to be open, you have to have someone at the door checking temperatures.
I didn't know that part.
And that was weeks. That was weeks ago.
So, but still, the article that I read, I think, said something like 2 months,
Could have been.
something like that.
Yeah.
So, but again, it goes back to the point. They locked everyone down. No one was moving. Perhaps that helped stop that spread.
Yeah.
The numbers. We
But-
don't know what the numbers really are. We
I
can't-
heard them talking about, it was this past week, that a Chinese scientist has proven that this virus is not done in China, and all they did was prolong it because of what it is. They said it's just like a cold. It's going to take on the same traits of
Yeah.
a fucking cold. It's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
He was saying that the cold is going to do what it does every season. It's going to come around. If you get it, you're immune to it for the rest of the season. Just
Yeah.
the season.
Yeah.
So
and then
in the
next year,
fall,
a different
in
strand
next
of
season,
the flu comes around.
next fall, next season,
Mhm.
next sick season, this shit's going to come right back.
I mean, I'm not a scientist. That I can't answer. I would encourage people to do some research on that and listen to some people who, are versed in that, field.
Dr. Fauci's my favorite, the guy that talks with the president.
So I've got mixed feelings about Fauci right now because I haven't done enough research on him.
He's been on everybody's emergency response team.
Right. So
Back to like George Bush or before, I can't remember.
So one of the things that I wanted to kind of go over as well is with this pandemic situation and the numbers is that we are being told, right, by Fauci as well as I'll grab another one here in a second. I don't want to be too lost.
Too loose?
Yeah. We've been told that there is a large number of people who have been infected by this virus who are asymptomatic, meaning they do not show symptoms.
For up to 4 days or 5 days or something like that.
Right.
That's what I'm being told on
Right.
CPR, which
Right.
is
So-
literally the only radio show I trust, but I still kind of check on their
Right,
shit.
so that's what we're being told, right? We're also being told that a large number of those people aren't showing symptoms once they get sick, or they
That's
have a
what
mild cold.
That's what asymptomatic means.
Right, and so they have this smooth kind of like, I was sick, yeah, but I'm over it. What is that number? Because
Oh my God,
then-
we'll never know that
Right.
number.
so because
Testing,
if you add,
we didn't have testing. How could we ever possibly know
I
that
understand
number?
that. I've never been tested. I haven't been tested.
And me, my wife, the baby, and Scarlett were all really sick back in like January.
Yeah.
And
And that's one thing that I've heard from a number of people is, around like the end of December, beginning of January, I was extremely sick for like a week, and then for the next 3 weeks, I just had this phlegm just stuck in my lungs, and it just wouldn't go away.
Yep, and
It's
see, me and my dad both were in the same house, didn't get it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't.
I kiss my kids. I definitely kiss my fucking baby.
Yeah. I think that some of us, or some people, I guess I should
Oh,
say
my-
us, because I shouldn't
my-
include myself in there. 'cause
My
I don't
white
know, but
my white blood cells are a fucking
some-
serious army
I
of
think
little
some people
badasses.
build, their immune systems are a little better built.
I do agree with that because
So,
my immune system, I've noticed compared to everyone else in my house and coworkers I work with, I can kick a fucking sickness's ass and not get it when everyone else has it.
And see, for me, it's like I rarely get sick, but when I do get sick, I'm sick. I'm not getting up.
Last
I'm not
time I was,
moving,
like,
I don't
deathly
want
sick
nothing to
was
do with
in
anybody.
high school. Last time I got deathly sick was in high school, and it was 2-3 days. I had the flu so fucking bad. I had 101, 102 temperature consistent for 2-3 days.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was fucked up, dude. My dad called me out
Where
of
are you
school
putting these
for
empty
3
cans?
days. That trash can, if you can make it.
Yeah, that's on the other side of the mic. Don't wanna.
All right,
Crash
we're
something.
gonna take a quick break so Marvin can collect his thoughts, and I'm gonna look at
Go for it.
Twitch. Yes, Streamlabs. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. Yes. I don't know
Yeah,
what
ladies
that
and
means.
gentlemen,
Pull up,
encourage
guys.
to take a look at Jordan B. Peterson.
How's your day been, JJ Cargill? My day's been amazing. How's your day been? Thanks for stopping by.
I think your co-host day's been better than ours.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. So we back here.
Yeah, so the numbers, adding that number to the total confirmed cases, people recovered, obviously that would not add to the deaths because we would have known by now to those. That's going to start dropping that percentage rate on the death rate, on the death toll. And I fear that with the argument of the inflation, given that certain people that were dying just because they had COVID, that they were being written down as COVID patients and COVID deaths rather than, cancer or severe asthma or respiratory
Emphysema.
so
Yeah.
that the death numbers are still slightly inflated, but we'll take them at face value and we'll say that, what number is that additional people who have already contracted and moved on with this virus is, and what number does that percentage come down to?
So I heard it put, the best I've heard it put is a scientist talked about on CPR about how, shout out CPR and NPR.
Yeah, you're.
But a
Those are your
scientist-
people, huh?
Dude, every time they come with stats and people that are credential certified people.
Yeah.
And this guy talked about, and he said it best. He said, they're saying that globally the death rate is roughly 2%.
Yeah.
So let's take that and drop it in half for America. Just to say that our hospitals are badass, we're a badass country. Let's just say that, which we're not. Our hospitals are not prepared for a pandemic.
I haven't spoken to any nurses. I haven't spoken to any doctors.
We're going to get into that next.
Okay.
So the guy says that we'll put it at 1%. The flu is 0.1% death ratio.
Okay.
So this is 10 times worse than the flu.
Yes.
They were just those numbers right there are enough to take serious measures on trying to stop this.
Okay.
Adding a virus like this to all of the things that we already have people dying from is reason enough to shut some shit down. So once it stayed average in most countries at about 2%, they were like, this is 20 times worse than the flu. This is serious. I mean, we should shut shit down. I mean, anyone who has asthma, doesn't matter what age you are, this shit could fucking kill you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it is a concern for our family with my father. My son's an asthmatic kid.
And another thing Dr. Fauci said, he said it, another thing better than I've ever heard anyone say it. He said, in his worst nightmare, in his opinion, the worst virus that could ever be an outbreak is something respiratory that spreads asymptomatic for multiple days and that has a high mortality rate, which this doesn't really have a high mortality rate. Imagine if
it seems to have it.
But
it seems like it, and it seems a lot higher, obviously, within these pockets of people.
Imagine if mortality rate was like 50-60% instead of 2%.
Okay. I mean, we're talking about the situations that we have seen, not
I don't
think we've
I'm
seen
just
a
saying
virus
a worst case
50%
scenario
kill
is
rate.
something that attacks your lungs and that
Right.
it attacks even healthy people so hard that it
Right.
can kill you.
And so that's the problem with speculation, though, right? So we can speculate. I can sit here and speculate all I want. I can throw numbers around all I want. At the end of the day, math is math. Show me a number that's there, fact, true.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, people being prepared early during the stages of this situation, and it's, did I have the information readily available to me to make an informed decision? If we had a good system that delivered good news to its citizens, and we had a government that understood that, hey, we put you in power because we entrusted you with this power, and we want our return on investment. Okay? You are living a good life. Name one politician that is struggling right now. One.
Yeah, I wish their salary got cut in half, and all of that money
right.
went to the
and
people.
So, yeah, because people are thinking, oh yeah, great, a stimulus. Yeah, I'm benefiting from unemployment. Yeah, I understand that, but that comes from my taxes.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I heard it didn't come from your taxes.
So where did it come from, Blake?
So it just got tacked on to the deficit.
To the deficit. Who pays the deficit, Blake?
We're never, you know as well as I do, that fucking deficit's never going to get paid off.
But that's not the point. Who pays the deficit?
Just like my dad said, they printed new money. It's like, no, they didn't print new money. They added numbers to that deficit.
Right. They added numbers to the number that we owe.
They can't legally...
It's not the government that owes the deficit.
But the government can't legally give out stimulus checks and then say that that's coming out of, like, your next tax return?
That's not what I'm saying.
Oh. Okay.
What I'm saying
I'm just
is
making sure.
No.
Okay.
It's not like, hey,
just
next
making
tax
sure you know
returns,
that is not.
No, next tax. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is.
Yeah. I'm just making sure.
At the end of the day, where does that money come from? How does the United States pay for its debts? How does the United States pay for its government budgets? How does it pay for it? It's through taxation.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is where the United States will not exist if it is not for the people.
Well, we're supposed to have a president that was supposed to fluctuate taxes to where we're paying more than our deficit is paying out, so that we're catching up on it.
Yeah, so that there's a slight overhead.
But that's not happening.
Right. Because it's going to be a challenge.
Oh, it's damn near impossible. You'd have to, the really big thing is you'd have to tax the rich, because you can't tax the poor. It's just going to push everyone into poverty. You know what I mean?
But the rich do pay for the largest portion of the
I
amount
know.
of money that goes
know.
into government taxes.
I understand that,
You know.
but they said that they said it would take like all of our billionaires in this whole country and some in other countries to pay all of their money to get us out of debt.
I don't know. I don't have the numbers. I couldn't comment on that.
Just think of all the people that have like 3 billion and 2 billion
But
and
say-
1 billion and
Debts are owed. It's like, how can I explain this? You can never have more money than debts are owed.
I
Does that
understand.
make sense?
Yes.
Like you can never.
But you like in a country's aspect to where there's so much
Right.
outgoing and then incoming.
Well, the point I'm trying
your
to say is that
incoming and your buildup can be bigger than your outgoing to where you're gaining on it.
what I'm saying is that at zero
Yeah.
throughout the entire planet,
Yes.
all debts are cleared. So meaning if no one has a dollar or a dime in their pocket, all debts are cleared.
Yes.
So all money starts there, and that's where money is a trade. It's a barter system. That's what our economic system is a barter system. So that's where it starts. It starts at zero, and from there we have landed to where we are now with time. That's how it's worked. And so when you say the only way out of it is taxing, it's like no, I think that I don't know. I keep going
No,
back
there's
to
no way.
education now.
No,
I
there's
keep
no
going
way
back
out
to
of it.
education.
There's no way out of it.
I think that there is. There has to be.
No, there's no way out
There-
of it because just like you said, if it is all out of it, everything's balanced and no one has any money, everything's paid for.
Right.
It can never be like that. Unless a zombie apocalypse happens and a couple of people
Right.
live and
Right.
there's no such thing as bank
Right.
accounts anymore.
Right.
That's the only way that could ever happen, is a restart. In this society right now,
It's never gonna happen.
in the capitalist, I hate that fucking word. In the capitalist,
Why do you hate the word?
just
It's
in
a
this,
capitalist system.
I know, but I hate
You know
it.
why you hate it? Because people misrepresent it constantly.
I
Because
understand
things are
that.
and that's why we've had to stop at a couple of points. Like, hey, let me clarify this. It's like because people take little snippets.
No, I
blow it out of
understand what
proportion.
capitalism
But go
is.
on. I'm sorry.
I understand what capitalism is.
I have my little
Yes.
pockets of anger with certain things that are just I think are
No, but
ridiculous.
with the systems,
yeah. Go on.
you have. It is better to owe people money because then they help keep you alive. They want to keep you around because you owe them money. Is a very 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 long explanation put very short.
I see where you're coming from with that. They have a vested interest in you staying alive.
Exactly. So
I
they
just-
want your country to thrive so
Yeah.
that they can always pay you money.
Right.
So they don't
Well-
care if they're in debt to you because they're not struggling with money because they
Right.
wouldn't let you be in debt to them if they were struggling with money.
Right. Right. They own all the debt, which is another thing that a lot of people are saying, which I tried to do some research on, is that China's economy did not suffer during this process. I did some research. It seems like
There's
it
no
did.
way it had to have.
It seems like it did from
It
the
had
research,
to have.
right? So
But that's like our housing market. Our housing market didn't do anything.
yeah, no,
Nothing happened to our
It's
housing
changed,
market.
Yeah. And so my sister's a realtor, and one of the points she said there's the only time where real estate's prices changed because of a market crash or a recession or a depression was during the housing bubble of 2006.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
fucking
So
15
there
years
was
ago.
the
or
Great
something.
Recession,
Yeah.
as they called it. So that was the only time where that shifted the pricing in the real,
And that started when 9/11 happened and went on for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, the bubble started around that time, I would say.
Yeah.
That I'm informed of.
Yeah, because that's when my dad lost his job and fucking
Right, during 2006.
all of his buddies got
everything
fucking
went
laid
south,
off
yeah.
and yeah,
That's
he had to
right,
get
bro.
a new career and everything. Yeah, it was my phone.
So,
It's
where
the
was I?
DNC. The DNC's texting me.
the DNC.
Yeah.
They want to offer you some money so that you can vote for them.
No, they want me to give them
Did
money.
you get that text message?
They want me to give them money.
Did you get that text message though?
Fuck no, I'll never.
You
I'll,
never got that text message
no,
where it was like, "Hey, you want some money?
No.
Like, come check us out."
No. Nope, my grandma got scammed hardcore, dude. My grandma got scammed hardcore. She got told that she was part of Trump's team and gave them like $20,000 or something like that. Because they said they were going to send her back $40,000 or $50,000
Wow.
for being a contributor. And she lost. She did it a couple times. She lost like $40,000, $50,000.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
That's
It was fucking terrible.
Yeah. Wow.
But my grandma's kind of.
What was the point I was trying to make though?
I'm sorry.
It's gonna drive me nuts now.
I'm sorry.
I keep trying to remember.
There was something I said I wanted to get back to, and now I can't
we were
remember.
talking about taxing so that we can pay the debt. There has to be a way to pay that debt.
You think that America could generate enough money to pay off all of our debts around the country?
Because
that's really what it is. That's really what it is.
Okay, so let me. One of the main lessons that an economist or someone who does financial teachings is going to teach you: stop living outside your means.
Absolutely, I agree.
That's where you start.
And pay cash.
Just outside your means. If you make, $2,000 a month, why would you get a brand new car on a lease whose cost is $700 a month? You're not gonna do that because you know that you still have rent to pay, you still have food to buy, you still have these expenses.
Yeah.
So you would never do that. The government does that every single year.
Yeah.
Why?
They go right to the tippy top of the budget.
Right. No. They go over budget. That's why we're running a deficit. That's the only way you can run a deficit.
We have a deficit every year.
You cannot run a deficit if you go to your budget. If you stop where your budget stops, you will not create a deficit or a surplus.
Wouldn't that fall in the same lines of corruption and people that are in government know how to manipulate so that they can make the people in charge go over deficit or over budget every time? Because wouldn't you think that everyone in the whole system is kind of informed on their budget for the year?
Right.
And where they stand on how much they can ask for?
Yes.
And they still ask for more. They're like,
so
fuck
how do
you.
So how do we end up?
Fuck it.
One of the things that I've noticed.
They're like,
I'm
like, that's not enough. I can't fucking do that.
So the reason I wanted your co-host down
here. I
here.
need to buy my yacht.
The reason I wanted your co-host down here is because I'm not political. I'm not political at all.
But me and him would never have a conversation like this.
Well, I understand that. And that's why I wanted him down here, because I want him to see I'm not political. I understand where he's coming from when he says that.
Are you independent?
The changing. I don't really like the labels. We'll get into that in a second. Let me finish this thought. I'm not really political. And I understand where he's coming from, where it's like, yeah, the president changes, but nothing changes in my life. I still go to work. If I lose that job, I go looking for another one. Like, nothing is changing for me. And the thing is that even though it doesn't seem like it is, you pointed out to him. Yeah, I did. Like you pointed out to him is no, it does make a difference. It does change things. And you made a great point to him. It's like when you're sitting there and you're voting based on someone else's idea, you don't know where their ideas are coming from. You don't know if they're informed. You don't know if they're making the wrong or the right choice. And you're just following and you're perpetuating a negative scenario. The biggest thing is that people need to be more involved at their local level of government. That is where the real changes are, because that is where you're going to tell your government where you stand as an individual. That's where, because like we said earlier, there's that base across all states, but each state is supposed to govern itself independently, and that's what we saw in part when Trump comes out and he makes his recommendations to the if you will, the union, right? Because that was where we started. We were a union of different states. That's how it came to be the United States of America, right? So when we have this union, I just saw you smirk, so I'm like,
Don't pay attention to me.
we each state is supposed to govern itself individually, and that's what each governor did. Each governor stepped forward and they made a decision individually on how they were going to protect their state. However, I did not have a choice in this. I was not given a choice, and that's what you're seeing across America. You're seeing people rebel against it because, this is one of the things that I noticed, and this is just me, this is my opinion. We literally just tested out martial law, and everyone complied.
No.
No.
No fucking way.
No?
No way.
Okay.
No way.
So let me ask you this, right?
No way.
Who signs orders?
I heard them do percentages of from road people, the people that monitor roads, of how it went, like how the first week went, and the second week, and then third week, and whatever it's been. Mm-hmm. They said the first week, it worked about, they say the roads were at about, this is from starting at 100% capacity. They said roads were down to about 60% capacity.
Okay.
So they said they would consider maybe half the people weren't complying, because they would consider, they thought maybe only a third to,
I would say more
40% were essential workers. A third to 40% are essential workers.
So let's call it a third, right?
So 30%.
33%.
Yeah. So that means 66% of people are non-essential.
Okay. So then out of that 33%,
so
make
meaning
it up to 50%, it's roughly 20%.
It's roughly 30% if road capacity was down to 60% in the first week. And then it went up from there. It went like 65 next week, 70%.
Right, and it started changing because people started listening to what the was going on in the media and started wondering what's really happening.
But don't you think that the media should kind of take responsibility for, like, having one or two or three media outlets totally contradicting the other ones? Shouldn't there be like a happy medium?
We shouldn't have to seek a happy medium. That's the point.
Well, I mean, me doing all my research right now, I know this ain't no joke.
Right, and I'm not saying that it is. Again, I've self-quarantined. I mean, my family has self-quarantined. We have been extremely careful with any packages arriving at home. We've been practicing social distancing. We've definitely complied with those thoughts because you tell me it's like a flu. It's like a cold. What do I do every year for a cold? Is I constantly wash my hands. I'm careful around people who are coughing, so on and so forth. Then you add new information. Well, asymptomatic people are getting people sick as well, so we can't really always tell based on either sneezing or coughing.
Yeah.
So you add a little bit of extra buffer to yourself.
Did you see that they said a sneeze can go 27 feet if you don't cover it?
That's far.
27 feet.
That's far. I mean, I
fucking
guess
ridiculous.
Things are just flying about.
They did it on a thermal.
Yeah.
27 fucking feet.
That's far. That's far.
That's retarded.
But the point that I was, trying to get to, because I don't
totally
like losing myself. Yeah.
Sorry, that was totally off topic.
Slightly off topic. Jesus Christ, you're killing me here, man.
Sorry, man. The sneeze. That sneeze, though.
So we complied. I mean, I complied. I will gladly comply.
But we're smart, and we do our research, and we found out immediately that, okay, there's some outlets that are telling you it's nothing. There's some outlets that are telling you need to go out in a full hazmat suit. And we are like, okay, well, scientists are not saying either of that. So I'm just going to do what the scientists and health officials are doing.
And I understand that. And again, yes,
I remember what I wanted to get back to.
Yes, what? So write it down before I forget.
Oh, yeah.
So again, yes, wash your hands. Practice social distancing. Do what you have to do. If our governor comes on the television and tells me the truth, tells me, hey, here are the numbers. Here's how this is working. Here's what we're getting out of China. Here's what we're getting from. I mean, I think South Dakota has been under scrutiny happening because one of their biggest meat plants had a large outbreak.
Yeah, they had like 500 people get sick.
Well, their governor made a great point. Okay, well, this food supply would have been essential anyway. So it would have happened regardless of whether we did or didn't do a stay-at-home order. Outside of that particular incident, where are we? Oh, we don't have that many cases. Oh, we don't have that many deaths. Why? Because I came before my people and I said, here's what's going on around the world. Here's what's going on around the country. Here's the likelihood that it's going to make it here. Here's how we can help each other stay safe, which is what we are going to do as Americans. We're going to come together and we're going to do what we have to do. We've done it time and time again to help each other stay safe. And that's what they've done. Now, maybe they have had outbreaks. Maybe they have, but that's their choice. That is what we have the freedom to choose to do.
But don't you think an asymptomatic disease is kind of one of those things that if you don't put the correct precautious measures out to the public to follow immediately and have places like that, meat plants and other warehouses that are 1,000 workers deep every day, you should probably comply with those rules as fast as possible.
The thing is that if she would have came out and given a stay-at-home order and people would have stayed home, it wouldn't have mattered because that job would have been seen as essential and it would have been open.
No, but don't you think that the PPE, the protective equipment, would have been, if they followed those measures immediately and followed the right precautions, people probably wouldn't have gotten sick, though.
I agree there. I think that when you're, because I used to cook, so when you're dealing with food, when you're dealing with meat, you have to follow a very strict hygienic protocol.
Do you think one person in the kitchen could ruin all that for everyone?
Definitely.
See, and that's more of my thing.
Definitely.
I think in a warehouse of 1,000 people, you're gonna have a couple bad eggs that aren't doing what they're supposed to do.
Right. But still, no government was going to shut that particular business down because they are such a large food production point.
Yeah, not even China could have done that.
So, it's like, the point that I'm trying to make is that, again, we go back to, we set this base from which we grant other folks who are at our base. Because the police officers, the government officials, whether it's federally or state, they're supposed to be our constituents. They're supposed to be the people also.
They're getting sick too, though.
Well,
all of them.
I understand that. The point I'm trying to make is that we give them that power, and we don't give it to them. We entrust them, and so we're trusting them to do the right thing by providing us with the right information so that we can make the right choices and grant and go back to them and say, we are going to
need you.
I just lost the same word I just used. We're going to entrust that you're going to make decisions on our behalf that are going to be in our best interest.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you tell me, hey, stay at home, I'm going to agree because I have already entrusted you with the power of making this decision for me because I believe that you're going to do the right thing.
Yep, and I've helped you get the essentials you need to help me.
Right. And so, again, the same premise of we pay for this service. We should get our service in return.
Absolutely.
When we're not getting that, we should fire people. It's just that simple.
Absolutely.
It's that simple. And that's what I encourage people to do is, you can vote at the very least, if you don't believe that federally you can change anything, I promise you can affect things at your state level. Vote at your state level. And consider this as well, is that, you're a dad. You want to take your daughter out to the park.
Can't do that.
You're catching with your daughter, who you just drove to the park in the same car, who you live with in the same house. So, are you supposed to practice social distancing inside your house as well? No, right? You don't. But you get to the park, and you stay 6 feet away from your daughter and you're throwing the ball, all of a sudden you're arrested because you didn't follow this stay-at-home order. It's like, okay, well, what am I doing? How am I hurting anyone? How am I doing anything? And we entrusted these officers to stand up for us. Right? To stand up for us.
That's when the I pay your salary comment comes in.
That's where the Constitution comes in. That's why people are arguing against your constitutional rights being violated. They're not saying, people aren't out here, I mean, there are some people who are nuisances, certainly. Like
Definitely.
you said earlier, there's going to be extremes at both ends of the spectrum. But these people are really looking out for us, for the individuals, because if you can't go throw the damn ball at the park with your daughter when you're practicing every social distancing guideline and a cop showing up and saying that your rights are suspended, which that was one of the things that I was going to show you. In a national emergency, apparently, the president, we were talking about the martial law situation, national emergency gives those powers to the president, okay? A judge signs an order, right? So a judge will order you to pay child support or to stay away from someone. Those are orders, right? A judge ordered you to do something. Once a bill makes it to the president and he signs the bill, he's signing it into law, right? So when you're telling me that a president is signing a document or that a politician, official is signing a document, they're signing a law, right? Whatever they're signing, so this stay-at-home order, it's not an order. You're signing a law. And so you're telling our officers that we agreed and voted for you to put this law in place and for them to go out and implement it. And so now you and me are sitting at the park playing catch with our kids, being arrested by our neighbor because he's following the laws that we told him to follow. But that's not the truth, is it? Because I didn't vote for this law to be put in place.
I mean, any sane person, that goes back to education and our police talk. I mean, any sane person wouldn't go arrest or talk to a father throwing a ball with their daughter at a park.
Right.
You just wouldn't.
But those are the points that people are making is, we need to pay attention to this. I'm not saying go protest. I'm not saying go shoot an officer. No.
What do you think
they
of those?
They are people too.
What do you think of those protesters in Michigan?
I think that they have every right to do that.
Well, I didn't say that, but
that's at the end of the day, they have every right to do that.
You're protesting. And they even said that they were going to protest in their cars. And then got out and decided to go against the social distancing order.
But we've also gone back to explaining there are bad apples out there.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying they are right, but I'm also not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying that the opposite end is right, but I'm also not saying it's wrong. I'm saying pay attention. Look at what's happening. Be very mindful. Because we've seen these things happen throughout history. We've seen it happen in... Okay, so one of the great examples is people are always saying, well, why are you against gun control? I believe you're a gun owner, correct?
Absolutely.
Are you against gun control?
For the most part, yes. Yes. I do think that I think that licensing should be a little different.
Right. But are you against a career criminal owning a gun?
Fuck yeah.
So that's gun control, right?
Yeah.
Because you're choosing to control who has access to a gun.
Yeah.
Right? You're a gun owner who is not against gun control. The biggest picture that they keep painting is that gun owners are against gun control. Gun owners are against... No, they're not. Right?
No, not
at all.
No.
Every gun owner I've ever met, the first thing they're for is
the NRA
gun
pushes,
safety.
The NRA pushes that the most.
Gun control?
Yeah. or is that gun control shouldn't be a thing and all this and all that is when, but if you know anything about the history of the NRA, in about the 80s or I think mid 70s, everything changed. Before that, they were all about marksmanship. They didn't give a shit about gun ownership. Right. They wanted you. Right. They wanted the right people having firearms.
And so then eventually people start trying to take the guns away. So then they start advocating to keep their guns.
Well, and they got very political. And then they decided to get a president for the corporation that was very political and very defensive every time he would ever go and talk on a microphone. Got very defensive and talked about how gun owners are this and gun owners are that. And you don't do this to gun owners. You can't do this to gun owners. It's like, man, a lot of the gun owners you will talk to, that's the last thing we want, is someone who doesn't know anything about a fucking gun going out and being able to buy any gun they want. Like, you're telling me that as soon as you're...
Fully semi-automatic rifles?
You're telling me that as soon as you're 18, you could just go buy a shotgun or a rifle and you don't even have to know how it works or what it shoots?
Education.
And... You could just have that. That's education. Your right. That's your God-given United States right.
Education. I do believe in education. I told you I'm a strong proponent of education. I'm not saying that people should not be educated.
I'm not saying that it's not your God-given United States right to own a gun, but at the same time, if you've never owned a gun before, you should have to take some education.
Yes.
Have to.
Yes.
And there's just nothing put in place for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And that also allows instructors to complete an assessment of the individual who is coming out to do these classes.
And the gun sellers, the gun shop owners, it is completely up to them to spot someone who doesn't know how to handle a firearm. Right.
But how many gun shop owners do you know who are psychologists?
And how many gun shop owners do you know that are going to completely ignore that because they want a gun sale?
I mean, I think that we're responsible. I have to too, so I'll go after you. I think that we're responsible enough as people to make the right decisions when it comes to that. Especially if you're a gun dealer who's selling guns, if you're given the education necessary to recognize people who should probably not have a gun, then you're going to make that choice. I believe in people. Again, I believe in us as a society. I believe in us as a country. I believe in us to come together and unite when in times of need. And so I think that if it came down to a sale versus a possible massacre, I think any person would pick not having that massacre occur. But unfortunately, like I said, we don't have psychologists or psychiatrists selling guns, so they cannot effectively stand before someone and judge by a 5, 10, 15, 20-minute conversation and a document that they're going to fill out at home, an application. We can't tell whether that person's going to be responsible or not, and I think that again, because we cannot tell and we cannot ask a shop owner to make that judgment call, which I was saying, I believe in people, and I've expressed that through the earlier conversations talking about how we come together.
Yeah,
I believe that a shop owner wouldn't sell that gun.
That's a good point, though, because what if you did decide to tell someone that they weren't allowed to buy a gun, and you found out they went on to the next
which
gun
is what's
store.
Gonna happen.
They went on to the next gun store, bought a gun, and then went and shot a bunch of people. What if
again, that comes back to if we have certain and my idea might be wrong. There might be I'm not thinking this through completely. And so I'm just saying that because someone's gonna dissect it and then add to the end and say, well, then a year into it, 2 years into it, here's some ramifications of what you're saying, which is possible. what I'm saying is that, you know, if, like you said, if we had some sort of education and training prior to the possibility of
owning your
for-
first,
owning a
first,
gun.
owning your first rifle,
right,
or
a
your first
any,
gun.
any
Period.
type of firearm,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That it gives us an opportunity to get someone in a classroom. It gives us an opportunity to study each individual a little bit better through conversation and particular questions that we can ask the psychological realm or the industry and ask them to kind of put their input.
See, and I
Get
think,
us some input.
in
How
my
can we-
opinion, I think it should be done more like this. I think it should be done, say, when you're buying your first firearm, you have to have some kind of education. Say you have to have not so much a license, but a certificate of approval of going and training.
Right.
Training with a firearm.
And so that's what kind of the same thing. So
And then I think that since, say, impulse buys, or say, a buy that's maybe messed up in the system, say you got a felony and you wanted to go buy a firearm before all the paperwork went through, so you could go do whatever you wanted to do. I think that, I mean, and you could say this is a total waste of money, but if you have the Parks and Wildlife do it, you're giving back to Parks and Wildlife. So it's not really a waste of money. But I would say an evaluation or a redo, another like instruction program for handling a firearm, if it's past, say, 5 years or something.
okay, so
Like
kind of
every 5 years.
so
if
kind of
you
like a
haven't-
driving test.
Like if
every so often,
you haven't
know.
if you haven't bought a firearm in 5 years on the database, you have to retake something. You have to retake
Before a new
firearm
purchase.
instruction class or something.
Yeah, I think that
When
you show up at
I
at
just
a place
think
to buy,
that would just make another roadblock to prevent people from going impulse shooting people. It's not gonna prevent people
impulse
from
shooting people is not a gun control situation.
I know, but there's and I'm not saying that all impulse shooting is all you're gonna prevent. You're gonna prevent accidental shootings. You're gonna prevent in-home shootings, which are mostly all accidental.
Yeah, most deaths are accidental.
So I mean, you're gonna prevent a lot of that.
No, I understand what you're saying. What I was going to add was that I would say, you know, a gun shop owner that has
Sorry, guys.
someone walk in and apply for a new application for a firearm, that the requirement is that they do go through a class first, and that class, the curriculum, seek out the participation of the psychology and industry, and put together a questionnaire of sorts that sort of paints the picture.
I just thought of something. You know I don't know if you know this, but you know the questionnaire they give you when you first enter jail about like do you want to hurt yourself?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if that was the questionnaire?
That's pretty much something that should.
I was just that's what popped into my head.
But the
when you
thing is
said
that when you sit there and you do a questionnaire, eventually people learn what the right answers are, right? The thing you cannot do is lie, unless you're a sociopath, consistently.
Many people are.
Which there are sociopaths, right? Which there might be sociopaths in our government system, by the way.
Absolutely.
People should understand that. You know, it's like when you're sitting there thinking, well, what the fuck is this person thinking? Yeah, well, you know, they might be a sociopath. But that's another conversation. So
I think that most
you
times
as an
I listen
individual,
to the
you
government.
cannot lie consistently. There is going to be a fluctuation somewhere that can be caught. That's what detectives are trained to look for. That's what investigators are trained to look for. That's what psychologists and psychiatrists are trained to look for. And so if you have a buffer or a time period between application and purchase where you have an opportunity to assess the person individually to an extent, which you could in a classroom setting, because you can see how people relate to one another. You can see how whether people are loners, as you know, which is one of the largest characteristics that I've noticed in shootings, is that people eventually detach from society, and that's one of the reasons that leads them to commit these sort of atrocities, right? So,
well, yeah, think of a psychopath that is going into one of those classes and just waiting to grab that gun,
right? Which
waiting
is
for their,
still going to
waiting
happen.
for their test shots.
That is, there's literally nothing you can do about that. It is
but
still
if
going
they
to
have
happen.
a .22 rifle in their hand, it's only a single shot or something like that. The instructors are standing right behind them. They're not going to shoot a bunch of people.
Well, no. What I'm saying is they can get through that entire class and end up with a gun that they wanted to purchase and still commit one of these atrocities.
Understandably.
It would definitely be reduced because we don't have a gun problem. A gun does not get up and shoot people. You know that firsthand.
Absolutely not.
So, what is the root cause? And again, I go back to Jordan B. Peterson. He has studied some of these people who have taken it upon themselves to deliver these sort of acts, and he's broken it down psychologically for you and explains why these people find themselves at that point. How do we reach there? How do we get there? And then you can start to look back at where the problem begins. Because if one of your water lines breaks, you don't put a bucket under it and then say to yourself, I'll just empty it every so often. You go and you find what the root cause of the problem is,
and you
fix it.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, a lot of the times when I show up
that's
to
actually
a job,
one of the main reasons I disagree with Jordan Peterson over climate change and all that.
And why is that?
Because he totally disagrees with it. I haven't really caught up on that bit he talks about. But I do know that he does not really fully believe in climate change and global warming and such.
I think that he talks more about the psychological effects of things rather than the particularities of life.
I know, yeah.
He doesn't, so that's one of the things that maybe represents him.
I'm pretty sure that's one of the things the arguments he made was, don't worry about global warming, and there's many more things to worry about than the planet warming up by a couple degrees in a couple years.
I can't say that I've heard him make that point. Maybe it wasn't something that I was looking for.
Yeah, we did a bit on global warming that I found him talk about it, and I totally disagreed. But you never know. He may think differently now.
And again, I mean, I'm saying I don't know. I'm saying I can't tell you whether you're right or wrong because I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And another thing is that I'm going to say is that if that is his opinion, and whether he's right or wrong on that opinion, let's, for the purposes of this argument, say that he's wrong. People are allowed to be wrong.
Absolutely.
Like it's okay to be wrong.
And lack of education, because you heard something someone said sometime and you believed them, and new information has come out.
But that's where this comes into handy. Us being able to talk.
Absolutely.
Me explain my point, you explain your point, and us come up with somewhat of an idea that's a lot closer to the truth than what we began with.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we don't have that in media anymore.
I mean,
really
you
sad.
still have somewhat of an attempt in media. They'll bring on people of the other side. Yeah. Both people will, and then it turns into a complete attack most of the time.
Right.
But I mean, they'll still try and have a little transparency, but it never turns out because someone hits a soft spot somewhere in the fucking interview, and then someone starts flipping the fuck out.
And then it's like, where did the conversation go?
I have conversations because out where I live, most of my friends are all conservatives. Every time politics ever comes up, either immediately someone's like, "Shut up! I don't want to talk about politics," or someone like you'll talk all fucking night. You'll end up looking at your watch and it's 1:00 in the morning, and it's like, "Babe, we gotta go home." But, like, I love that. I love people that will talk about politics, and you'll get, like, their side of the story and, like, how they feel about it. And then, like, they'll educate you about what they've heard. I'll educate them about what I've heard. And it most of the time it turns into you find a great friend and someone you can talk to and just drink beers all night.
Yeah. And have a conversation that's going to keep you engaged.
Conversations with great people are the best.
Yeah. Well,
I try not to get argumentative, but the more alcohol I have, the more argumentative I get.
And it's okay to be argumentative. What I'm saying is keep the conversation open. Yeah, I will in a sec. I just don't like losing my train of thought.
Go get more thought.
And it's... See, I did, so I'm going to go now.
All right. I'm going to keep this thing going. No, I mean, I just feel like if you talk to a great person about politics, or you get into a conversation about sports, or you get into a conversation about, I don't know, fucking high school, about the high school days, or some random shit, that is the best. That's how you find new best friends. I mean... That's how I've made friends over the years. You can't be shy to talk to people. I think that's another thing. Everyone's nose deep in their phones and they don't talk. They text and send emails and DMs and dumb shit. TikTok, I don't know what the fuck that is. But yeah. Oh, what I did want to get into is totally back on the coronavirus, is I wanted to ask Marvin about if he really thinks that our hospitals would have been able, if our hospitals would have been able to keep up with the virus if we decided to not do what we did. And I feel like absolutely not. I've heard every expert that I've heard, health official and scientist in the United States, say that our hospitals were in no way, shape, or form ready to take on hundreds of thousands of people sick and dying from doing nothing. But at the same time, I've heard a scientist say that if we would have reached herd immunity back in February or March, that we would have been just fine. And a lot of people would have been over it, and we would have had till next flu season to deal with it. But I don't know.
Okay, so
what do you think, Marvin? You
heard
all of that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me make sure I'm okay. I cannot answer that question because I am not in the medical field. I am not in the medical supply production field.
Yeah, but come at me with the knowledge you are informed with how much research you have done on the fact.
I can't answer the question. And see, that's one of the biggest problems that some people have is if you cannot answer the question, don't answer the question. I can't.
You don't think that it's an obvious absolutely not?
To me, it is not, because I don't have the information to be able to say that. If I have the numbers that tell me we're going to have, for a fact, let's say, 100,000 cases, just to use easy numbers, and we have 50,000 beds, then yes, I can tell you we're not prepared. We need to get another 50,000 beds, right? But if I don't have those numbers, I don't know. I'm not in that field. I don't know how they're affected. I have no clue. All we have to go off of is these little snippets and videos that people are posting, that we don't really we don't really know.
So-
so it's difficult for me to tell you.
So
I would
with
suggest-
you thinking that back when this all started, that
Mhm.
100,000 cases would have been a max. What do you think now, knowing that our cases right now, as it sits, is 750,000?
I just don't know. I don't know what the
Do you
capacity
think-
and capability
you think-
of our medical system here in
do you-
Colorado is.
do
I
you
have
think
no
our-
idea.
You think if we wouldn't have put these implications in place, our hospitals would have been overrun?
I cannot answer that question.
I think it's an obvious yes.
I see that you're trying to elicit an answer from me.
I think
but
it's an
cannot
obvious yes.
Answer that question. And that's your opinion based on what?
Based on the cases we have right now,
Okay.
after the measures we've taken.
Okay. So again, what is
And just on that note, this is turning out basically exactly how health officials said it would.
I thought they were estimating the death toll at millions.
No. Their death toll was 100,000 to 200,000.
Okay.
That was the highest it ever went up.
Okay.
That's what the government said.
Okay.
And then health
That's a good
officials
number.
health
Mm,
officials
they
said
got
that
it
was roughly correct.
I mean,
And they based that-
It seems to be thus far.
Like I
but we're
said
only 4
earlier,
months into the year.
That was based off of only 50% of the country following the rules.
I want you to understand that I'm not standing here saying that we should have not put
I
these
know
things
you're
into
not.
places, or that I don't
know
believe
you're
in
not.
this.
I know you're not.
I'm just saying that we need to be paying
I
attention
might-
to all of the
I
information.
might get a little hyped sometimes.
Oh no, I just want to clarify. You know,
All
so
right,
that we're
fair.
on the clear path.
Oh yeah, if we're gonna
Um,
do stats real quick, so worldwide we're at 2.375 million cases worldwide. There are 164,000 deaths. I thought it was nearing 200. That might not be correct.
150,000 was, I think, somewhere around there. Is
Okay.
that what you have? 164.
164, yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
And
it was.
the United States, like I said, has 751,000 cases.
250,000
and
66,000.
what does that say? 40,000 deaths. God
yeah,
damn.
40,000 deaths, 66,000
Our
recovered.
thoughts and prayers go out to anyone who
Yes,
has lost
definitely very-
anybody
yes.
during this. That's tough shit.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing stories that most of the time when someone in your family dies, it's usually like 2 or 3 deep. So like 2 or 3 people are dying in families.
I can't speak to that. I don't know that
They were-
information. One thing that you
But
and I
they
can
did
both speak
say
to.
they did say that what did they call it when it spreads? It's spread rate. We'll just call it its spread rate. Okay, for dumb people. Its spread rate in a household was only like 10 to 15%. So they said that if someone got it in the house, they said that it was very scientifical that when the host gets it, the germs that you're sending off first are kind of weak, so you have to spend multiple time around that person for a good amount of time to get the virus.
Based on the
They were
transmission
saying
through the air, right?
They were saying that if you caught it soon enough, that you had it, and you self-quarantined and everyone kind of stayed away from you, that most of the house wouldn't get it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But it kind of is like, how the fuck are like 2, 3, 4, 5 people dying in one family?
Again, I don't know. I have no idea. One thing that you and I can speak of is about losing someone so abruptly. So we do understand that people are going through that right now, and that it is very difficult.
It's a bad thing.
Our hearts do go out to them. We do
Yeah.
feel for you.
Yep.
We're not sitting here
Heavy
talking
hearts.
about, you know.
I
trying to
don't want
diminish
to. I don't want anyone to sit here. If you're this far into the podcast, you know we're not sitting here trying to
undermine or us.
We do take this very seriously.
Yeah. Like I said, we've self-quarantined. I've been working very little. Anytime that I've been at work, I've been distancing and very little number of people around me anyway.
I think the main thing to take out of all of this is the unity and the lack of division all of a sudden in the country.
Yep.
Because, man,
there's been some division, but it's really been pushed by the media. In my opinion,
December and January were rough. Like all the Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners I had to go to, it was like, oh man.
Come on, man, we had a good time for New Year's.
No. As far as my family, I had to let a couple people have it. Like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. I can pull up article after article after article right now that proves you wrong.
And that's
it
what
sucks
we
to
need
have to
to
do that
stop.
It sucks to have to do that to a family member. Like, quit spreading your propaganda.
So that's why I got on your ass a couple of weeks ago. On the comment on Facebook. It wasn't that you were doing anything wrong. Is that level your arguments, level your comments. Make both sides of the argument, because people who are reading these short little things.
I thought I did.
You didn't. You know you didn't.
No, I thought I made my argument, and then I made his. And it was like, I get it. I get where you're coming from, but...
Yeah. But so he also needed to recognize the other end of the argument as well.
Well, that's all. That's what I try and do. I try and do my argument, and then be like, okay, I see where you're coming from, but...
Okay, so the way that you came across was...
You
were saying, you're wrong, and here's why, and in your here's why, you proved him right. That's kind of how it came across.
It was more like in the end of my explanation, I had to put in there, because I kind of felt bad.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. No, and that's what I did, right? Because I followed up, like, hey, wait a minute. You're both
that's why I had to clarify, because I obviously did not make my point off very well.
Right. So it's like you have to, because like I said, that's the problem. So our media's failed us. We've agreed to that, right? So then we have each other, and we have that ability to have these conversations with each other, and we need to bring the real truth to each other. We need to stop dropping these little snippets and visit both sides of the aisle, see where both sides are right, see where both sides are wrong. We're all people. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes.
You know what my New Year's resolution was?
To have me on this podcast.
This is a good one. We're nearing 2 hours.
Yeah, well, I kind of expected this was going to go for a while.
But
and I feel like we can do another 6 hours.
No, but my New Year's resolution was to quit attacking anyone on Facebook.
Yeah.
Don't ever comment on someone's dumbass post. If someone comments on my post, let them fucking have it.
Yeah.
But I've also tried to tone that down to, if I'm going to let someone have it, do what you said. Explain why I think they're wrong first. Explain what that I do actually understand where they're coming from, but then why I understand why that's wrong.
Right. And that's conversation.
And usually I've noticed, my last 1 or 2 sentences should really be all I post. I should type it out. But fucking fuck! And then get to the last 2 sentences, and then delete the whole top half. And then be like,
there you go.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
And again, the reason I got on your case is, like I said, the media's failing us. All we have is, people are following these short little snippets, these short little posts. If you're going to post something, please be mindful and considerate of other people who are looking at you.
And possibly what other people are going through.
Yeah.
We're not all going through the same shit.
Right, and that's another thing I was going to say is we are going to experience things differently. So when we have a conversation about the same issue, it affects us differently.
Definitely.
So you can learn something from me, I can learn something from you.
Certainly. All right, guys. We are about to hit 2 hours. It's been real. This is Marvin. We'll have to have Marvin come back and talk about some more shit. We'll do that in
we can do that.
20, 30
No, we didn't get into economics, which I gotta ream your ass. And
Oh yeah. I need a real quick Dave Ramsey episode. All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy. Check us out. Subscribe. Comment. Give us more stuff to talk about.
Do it.
Like it. Check out Marvin on
Nowhere. Facebook maybe.
On Facebook maybe. I'll try and put his link up. Yeah. Check us out, guys. Peace out. Good shit, Marvin.
We're still live on Twitch, aren't we?
Are you still shaking?
No,
Twitch can keep going. I'm gonna have Derek turn that off.
The shake went away a little bit into it. For I guess YouTube and them are not gonna get that information, but yeah, when I showed up, I had never done a podcast before, so I was a little bit nervous. I think the beer and a half that I've had thus far and talking to Blake and kind of just going with things helped that. So good stuff. Let's see what you guys are saying over here on the chat.
Marvin, tell them all your social networks.
Blake is screaming from the bathroom. Marvin, come back again. I liked your viewpoint and comment you guys have. Thank you for that. I appreciate
all
it.
your social networks.
I'm not on social networks at all, man. I'm on Facebook and that's it. You know that. And
All right.
I never post anything on there. I'm really just kind of involved in my own self and my family and my loved ones and reading a bunch and studying. Going to school for business and accounting. That's why I was saying that I want to rip you a new hole when it comes to economics because we kind of got into that last time.
Oh, we didn't even touch it.
Yeah, I know.
Shit.
We got a little bit into some economics conversations last time and through text messages and yeah, definitely needed to get into that. There's so much that Blake and I can talk about. So much.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. I'll definitely be back. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I wish we could do this every day.
Yeah, that'd be fun
So,
shit.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Like
You
I
have
said,
fun?
Yeah, man.
It's a good time,
Yeah.
huh?
Twitch is still going.
Oh, it's all good.
So,
Marvin comes back like viewpoint and comes.
but yeah, I'm not on social media at all, man. I'm on Facebook and that's it. And you know how